There's not a red tile or thatched roof in sight across the Ardennes. France's border region with Belgium is instead covered with the grey tones of slate. It's been mined in this area since the Middle Ages. Production ground to a halt here in 1971, but there are still some relics of this industrial past. In the town of Remoigne, a museum keeps the stories of former miners alive, like those of Fernand, who first went underground back in 1939.
The most difficult thing was to look out for yourself, because the slate could fall on you from the roof. We were the highest paid people, and I'm not afraid to say it.
The story of slate was written on both sides of the border, because these mines were peppered across the Belgian Ardennes as well. In the middle of this forest, visitors can plunge 25 metres underground to discover an impressive maze of former tunnels. For a century, until 1976, hundreds of miners chiselled away and shaped this famous grey stone.
They would climb the ladder to collect the rocks.
What a job, what courage, and what a life these people had.
This stone was formed 400 million years ago. It beggars belief.
Once it's brought up to the surface, the slate is then split into slices 3 millimetres thick. As well as being famous for slate, the Ardennes region is also famous for its forests. These skittles are all made out of a local wood. JEAN-CLAUDE is the last remaining carpenter to make the parts required for this traditional game. Oak is used for the skittles and hornbeam for the balls.
Ah oui, il y avait des artisans, ils faisaient que ça. Ils faisaient que ça, ils en faisaient énormément. Moi maintenant, j'en fais 4-5 jus l'année, ça représente rien du tout. Mais bon, si on l'arrête, il n'y aura plus rien.
JEAN-CLAUDE set up his carpentry business 37 years ago. It's an old-style workshop with a sawmill, which allows him to continue his passion for wood. Each year, 14,000 hectares of forest are worked on in the Ardennes. It's an industry that's been going on for several centuries. It's part of the heritage of this region and is key to the local economy. Once a year, the Forestry Museum pays tribute to the first woodland workers, the lumberjacks.
2, 1, go!
The star of the day is this Belgian logging champion. André is proud to keep this local tradition alive.
Mon métier est bûcheron.
I've been a lumberjack for 33 years. We're so passionate about it, we could even cut wood on a Sunday. Without that passion, I don't think you could do this job. You really have to be a fanatic and love nature and the forest.
In the north of the Ardennes, forests blanket over 30% of the land, and they hide one local treasure. In Ecordal, this mill is the last remaining natural pigments factory in France. For 150 years, artisans have been churning out a spectrum of colours with their special know-how.
The earth, which has a yellow base, goes in the oven so that it becomes red.
At the start of the process, ochre is the dominant colour. It's the characteristic pigment of sienna, which is found deep under the Ardennes hills. It's an earth that's still dug up around 10 kilometres away from the mill, before being dried out in this steel oven.
It's a process that works thanks to evaporation. The earth is wet, and then it becomes dry.
The switching on of these old kilns is a delicate step. The cooking temperature determines the tone and hue of the final colour.
It's still an interesting material to work with, especially earth from the Ardennes. It's first dried at 200 degrees Celsius, then it's placed in the furnace at 700 degrees, where it then turns red. That's a beautiful stage, to see the difference in hue.
After calcination comes the final step, the grinding of the earth to achieve the finest pigment possible. This mill's colour wheel consists of 80 different shades. Half of these pigments especially the warm colours, are of natural origin. But for blue or purple, the mill still has to rely on a few chemicals. Several artists have been inspired by these colours, either to paint their canvases or to write their verse. The poet Arthur Rimbaud was born in this region, and although he might have passed away over a century ago, he still has a letterbox which continues to receive fan mail. His address is the old cemetery at Charleville-Mézières. For 25 years, the cemetery's caretaker has collected the poet's mail. Like the slate mines and the forests, Arthur Rimbaud is an icon of the Ardennes that will never be forgotten.